Hello, this is Randy Wooden, and this is from the Wooden Desk. I'm so grateful. In episode 2, we're going to continue a series that I started entitled New Level Leadership. Every one of us wants to go to a higher level. We talked about 8 challenges that I really believe that leaders are faced with today. In each of these, I'm going to address them as we go through them. I had shared the 8, and I'm not going to bore you to go through the whole 8 again, but I'm going to talk about the very first one today. If I can get the second one in, I will. I try not to make our episodes so long that it's difficult, but yet to make it, as I said last time, to be able to have a question at the end that you and your team can unpack and talk about that could stimulate, I believe, some greater sense of the challenges that we're facing and remedies for those challenges. So with that said, our number one challenge that we're talking about is all leaders are looking for new people in leadership. Let me say that again. All leaders are looking for new people in leadership. One of my business heroes that I've read a lot, that I love to read some of his stuff, is Jack Welch, from who is the former chairman of the CEO of General Electric. He said, "My main job was developing talent." He said, "I was a gardener providing water and others nourishment to the top 750 people. Of course, I had to pull a few weeds also." And when I read that, I thought, boy, is that so true. So many times what I realize is sometimes it's not always hard to put somebody in leadership, but after you put them in there, sometimes it's very difficult to remove them. Some of you, no doubt, that are even listening are probably facing that, thinking, man, the thing that's hindering me is some of the people that I have that are in my leadership core. But I think it's important for us to realize that leadership is filled with people issues. No leader is immune to them, and yet they come with the territory, whether it's in a business place, a church environment, that somebody said it'd be great, leading would be great if it wasn't for people, but yet we laugh about that, but it's true sometimes. See, the people who got you to where you are now may not be the ones that take you to the next level where you need to go. Wow, that hurts a little bit, doesn't it? And at different junctures of our life, there is different people who need to come into our life in order for us to go where we're supposed to go. That's pretty profound as far as I'm concerned. Because sometimes we have to be willing to admit and deal with the issue of the leaders that are around us. You may have to start privately of really just simply saying, if I was going to take a trip to go to outer space, and I was going to form a new organization, or I was going to form a space station. I'm just doing this off the cuff. Who would be the 2 leaders you could take with you? Who would be the ones you would take with you? Who would be the 2 leaders you would not take with you? Well, automatically that would give you a perspective on people that are around you. Because leaders that are, so many times we like somebody. And I realize sometimes in leadership, thank God, we have camaraderie, we have a connectivity with people we serve with, and we like them. But I realize there are some people we may not like, but they're not going to take us where we need to go. That's always a hard thought, because you say, well, how do I deal with that? And I would say with prayer, but with a lot of honesty. And sometimes it's realigning some things or repositioning the pieces on the chessboard, so to speak. I think this is important. Let's start by this thought of 3 types of people that you're going to encounter. 3 types of people. I believe the best use of power is to give power away and help people succeed. As I said on more than one occasion, that I feel like a springboard, that people can go higher as a result of being around, and I can give away power. So I think this is important. So now notice 3 types of people you encounter is where you used to be, we reach down to assist them. Let me say that again. The first type of person we encounter is that people are where we used to be, we reach down and we assist them. Number two, the second person is people who are going where we're going. We reach out to them and we begin to pull them in to the core. We begin to pull them in because we see that they're going in the same direction. And then the third person is people who are in the place that you want to be. We reach up to them. So you're reaching down to people, so to speak, and trying to get them to a place of that you've been with, to try to get them. Sometimes those are the ones you have to let go because you keep reaching down to get a hold of them. And I think that's important. See, when you don't know how to what I call disengage and engage with people, it causes pain. We're in the people business, whether it's in people development, people coaching, all of the different concepts today. But ultimately, it's all down that we are relationally trying to connect people to get them somewhere. For us in the spiritual church setting, we're trying to get people into, we pray, being disciples of Jesus Christ. We're trying to get them into being mature believers. And then ultimately, we're trying to get them into a place that they want to lead. In the business place, we want people who are relational and customer based, but yet at the same time are growing in the sense of how to use the systems and all the things that are necessary to do leadership in that environment. But what I realize is there are 8 types of people that you deal with. See, first of all, I would say number 1 is what I call the positive and negative people. Agreement is not always positive, and disagreement is not always negative. Now, I want to say that. People can disagree with us and still add value. If all you have is a bunch of yes people around you, then you are left to yourself and where you're going. I'm grateful sometimes people that are around you can disagree with you, and sometimes you may not agree with them, and sometimes we have to leave the table saying, well, we just agree to disagree. And I know that I don't always like that, but sometimes it has to be that way because of maybe the strong personalities or what we're dealing with is just passionate to the other person as well as it is in my own life. So number 1 is positive and negative people. Number 2 is people, and I don't say this in an arrogant way, but it's just the truth, people you have outgrown. Excellence is found on the edges, never in the middle. If you don't grow, you won't go. I don't, you've ever heard that, but the sense is, I think what happens so many times is there are people that we care about, and sometimes it's family, sometimes it's colleagues, and as you have really applied yourself in a lot of areas, when you go back into their environment and back into their atmosphere, you realize, man, I don't have anything in common with them. And part of that's because they have not vested themselves in preparation. Number 3 is people who are tied to yesterday's solutions. Now, this is really important, guys. Dealing with the old guard is an issue that every leader has to wrestle with. Yesterday's solutions, hear this, yesterday's solutions have become today's problems. I know you're like, what? I don't like that. Well, the essence of it is there's too many leaders trying to build their organization and say, we want to be current, we want to be relevant, and we need to be those things. But the only way we will become that is realize that some of the things that we used 5 years ago aren't going to work today. And that's some of the things I'm having to relearn, trying to help churches in consulting or coaching an individual. I'm realizing you can't think the way you thought yesterday. And there are some things that are challenging us today that are much different. So we have to retool. We have to retool emotionally. We have to retool people in this area. So number 3 is that area that people who are tied to yesterday's solutions and dealing with the old guard is an issue that every leader has to wrestle with. Yesterday's solutions have become today's problems. Wow. Number 4, that's not my job, people. Have you ever heard that one? Well, that's not my job. When engaging leaders and other personnel, I believe we have to look at what I call the 3 C's. You've heard these before. Number 1, we have to look at character. Can I trust them? We have to look at competency. Can they do the job? And number three, chemistry. Will they fit on the team? And I believe that was a question I would always ask. I mean, when you've been burned or you've been betrayed by somebody, you always have a sense, it does heighten your awareness of, is this person got my good in mind? I hate to question somebody else, and I've told people I'm not going to destroy the trust because somebody else used that trust to betray me. But I think it's important to realize that can be very difficult sometimes. But this area, can I trust them? This area of competency, have they applied themselves as a leader? And then, of course, the chemistry of how they're going to fit on the team. Number five is people who have not moved on. When the vision and what I call the movement of the leader and organization are out of sync, it calls for realignment, leading the organization unity. Let me say that again. People who have not moved on, in the sense that when the mission or the vision and the movement of the leader and organization are out of sync, and we know what that's like, it calls for realignment, leading to organizational unity. Who is going to take the journey with me and who is not? What I realize is that, and every one of us have had this, probably had a car at some point in our life, if you've been driving as long as I have, a car that has front end alignment issues or tires are out of balance, and the steering wheel is rattling, or it's pulling to the left and it's pulling to the right, and it can be even very dangerous. And in the sense that so many times organizations have this area of not being in alignment, and they're pulling here and they're pulling there. And I think it's real important we have to realign and ask the question about the people that are going with us in this area that we're dealing with, about these different individuals. As I'm sharing this, it's so important for us to realize this. Wow. I don't know if you're getting anything out of this, but I'm really enjoying it. Number six is people who can give me new perspective. Now, we're really going to deal with this on its own here in another episode. But the first 3 months, a new leader is what I call, or an employee is in the place, is usually their best shot at giving perspective and feedback. After that, they usually begin to assume the DNA of the organization. So having new people come in and asking them about your organization, or new leaderships, asking them what they think is very important to gain new perspective. Number seven is people who can be transparent with you. Why is it so difficult to find people to talk to so many times? It's because the stakes are higher. There are fewer people who fully understand the reality of your position, the reality of a new position at the juncture of your life. We have to be very, very careful sometimes just to bring anyone in and talk to them and share with them, or to listen to them. And I'm going to talk about that, as I said, in another episode. But I think it's important for us to realize the essence of this, that you need people in your life who can be honest and transparent with where the organization is and where you are. One of the things I struggled with at times was having staff that were good people, but they would only tell me what I wanted to hear, or they thought I wanted to hear. And they would get done, and sometimes I'd say, well, now tell me the truth. It wasn't that they were lying. It was just that they were saying some of the positive things, and I appreciated that, or they were not trying to stir any difficulty that might cause them difficulty. But sometimes uncovering something that's difficult is a blessing. And sometimes we don't realize what a blessing that can be to clean up something that's toxic in our organization or unhealthy. And then number 8 is people who can celebrate your success. You want people around you who can celebrate your journey. What I realize is sometimes we talk about these 8 types of people that we're dealing with, that within the fiber of that, a lot of people are jealous. Some people are not going to celebrate you. And you need people around that want to celebrate who you are, And I think that's part of being a team. And sometimes as a team, you need to celebrate the wins. That's why sometimes you just need to celebrate the first down play, you know, and sometimes as you celebrate, it brings excitement and passion, which is so needed. Not only that, but as we're dealing with the challenges of having this thing of new leaders, I think it's also important for us to realize there are 3 growth principles that are very key to any organization and where you may be in your organization. Number 1, the way you get your organization to grow is to grow your leaders in numbers and in depth. You need more than one leader. You need to be trained. One of the things that probably the greatest honor and privilege that I had was to develop leaders, to develop ministers, and had a leadership institute where we did that and bring people in on a Friday evening, all day Saturday. And even now I'm doing empowerment weekends where I'm coming in on a Friday and a Saturday and I'm ministering on Sundays, and seeing some incredible things happen to leadership, just some leadership within organizations, because you begin to speak into them and you begin to grow them. I was in a conversation with one leader who basically made me aware that they were struggling and things were difficult. And as the person began to talk, they were talking about a couple of the leaders they had that basically, without saying it, they were just talking about how bad they were, how sorry they were. And of course, I asked about, well, have you done any leadership training and trying to change the mindset of your organization, those types of things? And the leader said, well, I don't even think they would get it. Well, the thing is I think it's important for every one of us to realize whether somebody gets it or not, it's our responsibility to equip them. And first of all, I don't believe that if I take the time to invest in people, that time is ever wasted, because it's going to help them to be a better man or a woman. It's going to help them be a better person in the workplace, but especially they have a much clearer expectation of what it's expected of them and how they should act as a result of receiving the training. So I think the best way to get your organization to grow is to grow your leaders. Now that may be so simple and you're like, oh, I know that, but are you doing it? Because there are a lot of things I know, but I don't do it. I procrastinate. Well, I'll do that next September and maybe I'll start something. When you say the words maybe, you're probably not going to do it. What you need to do is set a schedule. You need to set your times and put a higher level of expectation upon your leadership and say, hey, we're coming together. Well, I don't have time. Well, why don't you have time? Because if you're going to function within the leadership of an organization, you have to take time to connect, to grow in order to hire. Now, we're talking about new level leadership. This is what this is all about. Not only that, but number 2 is surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow. If you only surround yourself with people like us or like ourselves, our weaknesses will never be challenged. We will stay at, a place of status quo. I like what one writer said, and I couldn't find the source of this, but I want to read it. It says, the company you keep. It is better to be alone than in the wrong company. Tell me who your best friends are, and I will tell you who you are. If you run with wolves, you'll learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you will learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he really is like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those in whom you are closely associated with. Wow. The more your life will improve will only happen when you put the right people in your life. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute is successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want to go with you. They will want you to stay where they're at. Friends that don't help you climb want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke out your dreams. Those that don't increase you will evidently decrease you. Wow, powerfully said. I want you to consider this. Never receive counsel from an unproductive person. Number 2 is never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution. That happens too many times. We share something with somebody and we exchange ideals with the wrong person. Number 3 is don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. I'll say that again. Don't follow anyone or even listen to anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people you're spending the evening with, and others you have that can invest in. I want to say that you need somebody to invest in you too. And then this last area here is beware where you stop to inquire for directions along the road. Wise is a person who fortifies his life with the right relationships. I think these were things that were very important for us to consider. And again, I think this is important. But we talked about 3 areas that are growth principles. I know I'm all over the place giving you 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I hope you're following me. But I talked about the area that you grow, or what I said was key growth areas is the way you get an organization to grow is you grow the leaders that you have. You surround yourself with those who are going to be positive. And then number 3, and this is our last point before I lead into the closing of this, is focus your organization's context and not its packaging. This will attract new people. Now, again, I think it's so important in going to the next level. We have got to be able to know the context and where we are, where we're going, and get that clear picture that people can see, and you know it very clearly, so it can be articulated in your words. So as I close this session, and I've gone a little bit longer than I intended, this is just the first point of the 8 challenges we're talking, but the challenge here is ultimately we need new leaders. And these leaders, we pray, are going to be trained and equipped to face what's next. We don't know this world is messed up. I mean, every week there's a shooting. Every week there's people getting COVID. Every week there's a riot. Every week, and then we come in on Sunday and we just do our thing. But we have got to understand that God has called us not just to minister in our churches, but He's called us to reach our cities, to make impact. And I'm praying you're going to be able to do that. But I want to leave you 2 questions for your team. Number 1 is, what is the greatest challenge in the area of assimilating new people into your ministry? And then number 2, how do you spot a person you think may be a possible leader in your ministry or a key person on your team? I'm going to say that again. Number 1, what is the greatest challenge in the area of assimilating new people? Because one of the things is you're trying to get new people in. But then secondly is what do you spot, or how do you spot a person you think may be a key person on your team? Now, I hope this has been a help to you. I've said a lot in a short period of time. I'm always willing. If you want to text me or you want to email me, the information is on my website at www.fromthewoodendesk, all lowercase, fromthewoodendesk.com. If you want to email me through the site, you can ask for some of the notes. I'll be glad to email you one of the episodes and the notes that I have, so that if you're needing some more information, I would be glad to give that to you. So anyway, with that said, my prayer is that you will continue to grow and that the kingdom of God will be enlarged in you and around you. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.